Alright, it's live, but there's another 20 minutes until, or not 20 minutes, 10 minutes until it starts.
Alright, wanna move to a different channel?
DM call?
Table for two. Table for two.
Alright. Hello. Gonna announce it next review.
Should I announce it in case?
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's actually gonna join and listen, but
Worth chat.
alright. We have to pay to actually make an announcement, so yeah, I'm not going to. I need those credits for the event. Alright.
Just gotta get the link.
Yeah, I forgot. It's like I have this like giant water bottle in my room.
Alright.
This thing has like 2 days worth of water in it.
Man.
It's like 16 water bottles combined.
This row obsidian. Alright, there we go. Okay. Stream is actually pretty close to what it is. Like, it's pretty up to date.
So we find a thing.
Wow, it already got a dislike. Yeah. Like, people in X-Rovia.
You already know it's gamer.
No, it's X-Rovia.
Oof. Alright, well. Are we going to begin, or?
Nah, why not?
Alright. Or should we wait? What do you think?
Should probably begin.
Right now? Do we have enough people to ask like questions and stuff?
Not yet, maybe wait, actually.
Yeah. This is like...
Hopefully Leah
just
joins.
copy this, so... Copy text. Scroll it down, I'm gonna like paste it.
And if Leah does join, hopefully she doesn't suggest as crude topics as she did last time.
But of course anyone can ask questions. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. Are we too quiet?
I mean, there's nothing to talk about yet.
Could be a bit louder.
Give me a moment. It's already max volume. Oh, well.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn you up to 200%.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Just trying to make sure everything works.
Alright.
Wonder what kind of random questions we're gonna get today.
Yo, I already have it. I already have you 200%.
Alright, cool. It's like 102 degrees, so...
Alright. So, what should we... Oh, we got a topic.
Oh, you already have a topic?
Yeah, we should probably do the intro
Should I
first.
do the actual... Should I do the actual introduction?
Yeah.
Alright. Welcome to the podcast, The Oblivious and the Intellect, where we discuss random topics suggested by members like you. Feel free to donate credits if you want to hear stuff that we talk about again. I guess we'll just kind of jump in. What's our topic?
Pumpkins.
Pumpkins.
Yeah.
What can I even say about a pumpkin? Oh, well, since Halloween is actually coming up, have you guys actually tried like carving pumpkins before?
Alright, I just tried to suppress my mic. So yeah, I
Oh,
think pumpkins are pretty interesting. Um,
is
like
that it?
carving them.
So, what's it called? Pumpkin carving is actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
Um, if you're not familiar with how to do it, you can basically just like you cut off the top, you remove all the insides. You can actually turn the insides into a pie or whatever you want. The seeds also make also are really good for other foods as well. Um, but once you have emptied out the inside, you can use a knife or like various different carving tools to kind of like make the face or however you want. And there's different ways of cutting like pumpkins to do like really cool things. Like lots of people when they cut a pumpkin, they cut all the way through. But like other people, they do really cool things where they only cut partially in. So what happens is that when you put a candle inside, the light actually goes through these like parts where you cut, but not didn't cut fully. So that way you get like this really cool glowing effect.
Mm.
What else can I mention about pumpkins? Uh,
They're
Edward,
good.
have you heard of the pumpkin launching competitions that used to be a thing, where people would
No.
build catapults and try to launch them as far as possible?
No, but locally we had this thing where like I don't think it's still around, but we used to have this thing at our old middle school before it shut down where kids would throw pumpkins off the rooftop. It'd be pretty fun.
Hmm, interesting.
Mm.
I think one thing kind of weird that if you go to like a craft store, there's just like a giant, like almost an entire aisle just full of plastic pumpkins.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't see why you would need to buy a plastic pumpkin. I mean, I guess they last longer, but like, what's the point?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I wish there was a way I could do more noise suppression. And my mic is really not that loud, surprisingly enough. Like, for whatever reason, I'm talking in it as loud as I can, it's still quiet.
Well, that's partially because of the noise suppression system you have. Alright, we're getting a little bit off topic.
Alright.
Do we have any new topics?
Yeah, anime.
Anime. Ooh.
Yeah.
Um, let's try to narrow that down. I could talk about like different aspects of that, but like, Edward, what's your favorite kind of anime?
I don't watch any anime, in fact. I think that'd be kind of cool to see if one day I could post a video of my first anime. Like me reacting to it.
I don't know how to respond to that because I already know if someone recommends you anime, then I don't know how that's gonna go. But I think my favorite genre is just comedy. Like, what's it called? Like my family has like found like multiple different animes that are pretty funny, and I've found some like really funny ones.
Yeah. And there's just not a lot to talk about there except for the fact that there are a lot of jokes that like
I mean,
anime
I
was the
don't.
byproduct of the nukes. Japan being mutated.
Like, what's it called? I watch anime sometimes, but I don't watch it all that much.
Yeah,
So,
I know that Gamer hates anime with a burning passion. Like he hates anything weeb related.
hmm.
He's an extremist normie.
All right.
Alright. Man, we're burning through these topics too quick. Waffles versus pancakes. Now that one's an interesting one.
That is a very interesting one, and I'm just gonna be straight up. I prefer waffles just because of the texture.
Yeah. Damn it, I agree with you. The frickin' waffles, having it with all those boxes in it, like, it's not as
Like,
bland as a pancake.
I I prefer the boxes over just a flat, like smooth consistency. Because
Yeah,
then it
it's
becomes a bit
so
like mushy in one
annoying.
case. But like when you eat like I like both, but like when you eat a waffle, it's like
It's great.
it's better. It's like it's more crunchy, and you can
Mm-hmm.
actually hold the syrup. So like fill each square with syrup or butter or whatever you want, like what's it called?
Yeah.
Jam or whatever. Like
If you do
it's
it
just good.
correctly, it's just delectable.
Hmm. It's the same thing with pancakes, but with pancakes it's a bit more like they're flat, so it's the same all throughout. And when you bite it, there's no like module to it. Like with a waffle, you can bite like one square at a time, so you can like savor it. With a pancake, you bite it,
Yeah, it's just freaking.
or
Don't
you
want to
cut it up.
seem
It's up to
mean,
you.
but it's like you eating a tire or something. Like it's just flat. It's like a carpet.
Ooh, that's a bit much, but
Yeah, but like you get what I'm saying. At least the general vibe.
it depends on how you cook your pancake. I want to defend the pancakes for a bit because I feel like the pancake people are gonna get really upset. Like
They're gonna
pancakes can
hate
also
us.
be like really good.
I swear, a gamer or somebody is gonna be a staunch pancakey, and then he's gonna like rant at us for an hour.
That'd be hilarious.
You know, a gamer would do that.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, we're burning through these topics way too quickly, my dude. Fern, you need to suggest better topics, or else we're gonna run out.
I mean, we have an entire hour to talk about literally anything.
And next up, we got dragons slash extinct animals. Ooh, this one's a lot more broad.
Hold on, what was the first word?
Dragons slash extinct animals.
Dragons and extinct animals.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's a really interesting topic.
that's pretty
I
broad,
kind
so we
of
can
I
talk
had
about
a
it.
we can talk about that for a while. So, uh, dragons are pretty cool and all, but like, what's it called? I already talked to you about this before, Edward. But
Unless it's
like,
the Ender
I
Dragon.
think, well, anyways, what I think is like really weird is like there's depictions of dragons in every single culture across the world, even
Yeah.
cultures that haven't interacted at the time that they made these depictions. Like the Native Americans, and the Incas, they have their own depictions of what a dragon is. Like they made like little art forms and stuff like that. The Europeans had their own version of dragons. The Chinese had their own version of dragons. Like all these different cultures, like before they even met each other, they had this depiction of what a dragon was. So it's like,
I wouldn't
was
say
there
they
really?
never met each other. I mean, the Chinese and Romans, like even as far back as then, they knew that each other existed. But it was a
Yeah,
case
but
of they're so far
how
away that they
how do
didn't
you?
care.
Yeah, but how do you explain like the ancient Mayans knowing what a dragon looks like, and the Europeans having almost the exact same kind of idea of what a dragon looks like?
That's kind of creepy.
That is weird.
hmm
So it really makes you think, like, is this
Maybe
like
it's
a
just something
coincidence,
that's
or was there actually
universal.
something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
but
it's just
where did that come from?
maybe it's something innate within humans. Like they see stuff as reptilian as evil. You know what I mean?
And so they give it wings and the ability to breathe fire.
hmm
The closest thing you can find to a dragon nowadays is a gliding lizard.
Closest thing you could find to a dragon is an ender dragon. Yeah.
Mm. I remember I watched a documentary once that tried to convince people that dragons were like an actual thing. And it was just really, really funny because like lots of it was not too good. But one thing I did find interesting was like they tried to explain how the fire breath would even work. And it was actually really weird and interesting.
hmm
Like, what's it called? There are different animals today that they have like an extra organ in their body where they store gases. Like fish, they have like a extra bladder that's used for like it's I think the air bladder thing. I don't know what it's called. That's a bladder that they use to control their buoyancy in the water.
hmm
And like I know other animals have like similar like organs to help them with like movements and stuff like that. But in the case of like dragons, they would use that to store like extra like flammable gases, and they would use In the documentary, they explained that they would use something like a flint that they found off the ground, like they would just like randomly eat some like rocks or whatever, and they would use that as like a way to ignite the fire whenever they needed to.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a weird concept. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't make their throat feel any better.
Hmm. Yo, someone else just joined the stream and then they left.
Let's see. In terms of extinct creatures, like, do you mean just extinct creatures in general, or like mythical creatures?
Probably, I would say extinct creatures in general. Like creatures that existed once but don't exist anymore. I think that's what he means.
Many, many, many extinct creatures. There are many.
What about the
And
dinosaurs?
many of them,
You want to talk about that?
dinosaurs. They died 65 million years ago because of an asteroid and they all suffocated.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Like they were at the top of the world for so long, and then they died out in a catastrophic event. Really makes you think.
Yeah, but some of them still kind of live on as birds and stuff, because birds are actually,
Yeah, I know,
uh,
but they're never the same as what they once were.
yeah,
I'd be like,
for sure.
as if humans survived, but like the only ones that survived were ones that had polio or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, actually, one thing that's really interesting is that if you really think about, people think about dinosaurs as being these like super reptilian creatures, right? But in reality, they'd
They
be
weren't
really like
necessarily that.
feathered and no, they would be like more feathered or like fur or whatever. Like they would have these like other elements to them.
They'd be
Like,
a lot more
have you
bird-like.
seen? Have you seen? Yeah, they'd be a very bird-like. They'd have like all these like different like feathers and different things on them because what's interesting is like back then people only went off like the bones and stuff, but then they didn't think about like how the outside of a creature looks like. Like, have you seen when you look at a skeleton and you create a depiction of what that creature looks like? It's not accurate because someone looked at there's a weird picture on the internet for like all these different creatures, but someone took like the skeleton of a hippo, right, and they recreated the creature that it probably was,
Yeah.
and it looks nothing like a hippo at all. It's like this super weird alien-looking creature. I'm like, dude, that's not how that would actually look like. So you can apply it to dinosaurs. It probably looks completely different to what
The
people
same
say they
thing
look
is
like.
true for the T-Rex. You know what's kind of
Mhm.
interesting about the T-Rex though? Even though it's one of the main things that we think of when we think dinosaurs, it only came into being like 2 million years before the dinosaurs died out. They were really late to the party.
Yeah, very late to the party. That's why they
Yeah.
find what's it called, like really well preserved fossils of it.
The T-Rex is probably also bird-like.
Yeah, that's actually entirely possible.
Mm. Like they
That'd be
were,
really weird to think of them with micro wings.
yeah, they were in the branch of the dinosaur family tree, I guess you could say, that was closer to birds than like other dinosaurs. The closest living relative to a T-Rex is a chicken.
Actually, now that I think about it, kiwis are modern T-Rexes.
Kind of funny.
No, just think about it. They have,
Yeah.
what's it called? They have large legs, and their arms are completely like almost non-existent. They will only move around like they don't even. I don't even think they have wings. I mean, we talked about this before, but like seriously, it's just hilarious.
You know what I
The
find
like
interesting
all these
though?
similarities.
Is that apparently there were a few creatures from the age of the dinosaurs, like a few mammals, that ended up like bullying dinosaurs and shit occasionally. Like most of the time mammals were
Yeah.
small, but occasionally like
Yeah,
some of
they were
them
small.
were big enough to bully stuff. Like not all of them,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, but some of them were at least.
Yeah.
Mm. And when the dinosaurs disappeared, they tried to fill the niche, but it took a really long time.
Yeah. I guess. Slowly and surely with evolution.
Yeah, you know what's kind of funny though? Is that when the dinosaurs went extinct, the mammals didn't become dominant immediately. It took like 15 to 20 million years.
Yeah, that is also very true.
Yeah, for a while, giant birds were actually like the top predators.
Yep.
So in a way, the age of the dinosaurs continued for a bit.
Yep,
Yeah.
that is very true. We should move the topic to more modern things, so like more recently extinct creatures.
Yeah. The
I
dodo.
mean, yeah, the dodo was the one that was recently extinct due to like what they called? They evolutionized in a way that they had no predators, so they had no reason to defend themselves. Then when we came along, we basically just murdered them all because, oh, this tastes good.
Yeah,
That's basically
they
it.
had a horrible gene pool. Just look at them.
Those are mostly renditions of what they would actually look like. No one actually knows what they look like because, well, all we have on what they looked like is skeletons and drawings. That's it. There were no
Mm,
cameras at the time, so people
yeah.
literally just drew them fatter than they might have been.
They were alive as late as the Holocene, the time that
Mm-hmm.
currently exists.
Yeah. Then there's other creatures, like mammoths. They actually coexisted with humans for a bit, and then they all went extinct.
Hmm.
So I don't think that's entirely because of humans. So I think that's more like a mix between the changing climates. Because at the time that was going on, the world was actually exiting an ice age. So
Yeah.
it's just a natural process in like the cycle of how the world works.
The last sighting of a dodo was in 1662.
Mm-hmm.
I just looked it
Oh,
up.
have you heard of like creatures that have you heard of creatures that have what's it called? There are some creatures that were thought to be extinct, but then people find sightings of them and like rediscover them.
Yeah, just imagine that happens with stuff like Megalodon. We're
Mm-hmm.
probably gonna hate our lives for discovering it.
Now let's look at some. I pulled up a list of creatures that have gone extinct recently in 2020. The
Oh, really?
Sumatran rhino went extinct. The Chinese paddlefish went extinct. The Yangtze giant soft-shelled turtle. The Indian cheetah. The Sphinx
Indian
macaque. The
cheetah?
Catarina
That's
pupfish. Yep,
that's
Indian cheetahs
horrible.
went extinct in 2020.
Hmm.
Like no one talks about these things, but all these creatures are gone forever. So yeah,
Yep.
the Indo-Chinese tiger also went extinct. So yeah, all these are
Yeah.
creatures that went extinct in between 2019 and 2020. So yeah,
And I mean that's surprising because wouldn't COVID have helped them?
I mean COVID does like happen. It can affect like, multiple different kinds of creatures, but like yeah, all these creatures have basically gone extinct in this time, which sucks.
Yeah.
But there's not much we can really do about it other than trying to preserve their habitat and prolonging their
Their existence.
existence.
Yeah. I heard people say that like we're in another mass extinction or whatever.
Uh, mass extinctions happen all the time.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's kind of a weird conversation. I mean, lots of extinctions are caused by like people in general, but some of them are just
Yeah.
like natural processes at the same time. So it
Yeah.
sucks, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm going back in the conversation a bit, but I
Yeah, that's
heard
fine.
somewhere that even though the dinosaurs died out 65 million years ago, apparently they weren't doing so hot. Like in the last few million years of their existence, dinosaurs were declining.
They were declining,
Yeah.
and that's something that lots of people don't notice. But like, think about it. In the fossil rank, you use dinosaurs, right? Like, you think of
Mm.
all the dinosaurs you thought, like Stegosaurus, Plesiosaur, like all the dinosaurs you can name, right? All the different like ancient creatures, right?
Yeah.
Chances are most of them weren't even in the Cretaceous period. They were like Jurassic and Triassic.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, T
there weren't
Rexes
that
are
many in the
closer
Cretaceous.
to us today than a Stegosaurus is to a T Rex.
Yeah, yeah, that's insane.
Mm.
Like they never even met each other. Like to the Tyrannosaurus, like the
Because that's
Stegosaurus is basically a dinosaur to
180
them.
million years.
Mm-hmm. Do the math on that.
Mm. Like,
And
that's a
then what's it
freaking
called?
long time.
The fact that we even know they exist too. There's so many creatures that probably existed that we never knew about. just because their fossils were not preserved.
There's
Because
some
for
old
fossils
flowers or
to
whatever
be a
too.
thing, it has to be like a very specific set of things. So, yeah, if you really think about it, there's so many creatures you probably never knew existed, or never will know existed, until we make a time machine.
Yeah. Just imagine like stuff existed that,
I
like I
wouldn't
said, we would.
recommend going back in time, though.
Yeah, they'd kill you.
Not they wouldn't be the ones that kill you. You just die from the air poisoning.
Hmm.
The oxygen
Oxygen.
concentration's way different back then.
Yeah.
You can die from getting too much oxygen in your bloodstream. That is actually something that can happen. So yeah.
Yeah. Especially during the Carboniferous 300 million years ago, that was when it was the largest concentration.
Mm-hmm.
But when the oxygen went away, there were actually giant insects that lived during that period that ended up dying when the oxygen stopped being plentiful.
Yeah, they only were able to exist because of the large amount of oxygen.
Hmm.
Because what's it called? Mammals like us, we have lungs, all right? We can breathe. These are our muscles to like open our lungs and close them, right? So that way we can like get our air, right? And then we pump that all through our body.
Yeah.
Insects don't work like that at all. They, what's it called? Most insects, they have like holes in their body where air naturally just goes in and out. Like if you look at I saw a video on like how bees breathe, and they have like a little
So,
hole,
diffusion?
like yeah, like the air literally just goes in there and then it just spreads out throughout their body. Like the air just goes around to their tissues. But then, because of the way that because of like the way that they drink nectar and stuff, they get a lot of like water concentration, so they get rid of the water through that same hole.
Hmm.
It's weird. Anyways,
The last
should we
comment.
continue on this topic, or would we like to move to a different topic?
Probably move on to a different topic. We spent a crap ton of time on this.
Yeah.
What extinct animal would you bring back from the dead and why?
I don't know how to answer this question because it's a question you have to put a lot of thought into. If I were to immediately say, "Oh, bring back my favorite extinct animal," yeah, that would not work well at all. Either that animal will die, or it would disrupt the food chain so badly it will kill everything else around it.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, it's a really weird and difficult question you have to think about.
You know what I would do? I would just say bring back a singular T Rex. Like, not the entire species, just a singular T Rex so it doesn't mess anything up. And you could
It
study
would
it.
mess things up regardless.
Not really, if you were able to, like, keep it in a cage away from everything else where it doesn't murder anything.
He didn't say it would come back in the cage. Like, you just say, "Why would I bring
Yeah.
back one T-Rex?" It spawns in the middle of Africa, and you're like, "What now?" Like, where are you gonna find it?
Yeah. It would eat people.
Hmm. That would
And
be a
by the
very
way, if we
unfortunate thing.
did bring it back, would be cool to see how it looks. It would look a lot more bird-like than we'd expect.
Yeah, pretty much. What's it called? Um, Bringing back creatures like that is actually very difficult because the DNA actually disintegrates over
Yeah,
time.
from 60 million years ago, it's already gone.
Yeah, the DNA is completely, the blood's still there, but the DNA in the blood's gone.
Hmm.
And by blood, I mean the blood of mosquitoes. If you know Jurassic Park or whatever, right? They had that theory, but technically speaking, the DNA would completely be unusable because it's just broken down to its
Hmm.
basic components. It's no longer DNA.
You know what's kind of weird about insects, though?
Hmm.
Is that we have a lot of cases where we're able to see what they look like because they were preserved in amber.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Unless there was some massive like tree, you can't really like fossilize a dinosaur inside of amber.
Yeah.
That would be an amazing discovery, though, if that was a thing. We're getting off topic. What creature would I bring back? This is a really hard question. I don't know if I can even answer it properly.
Can I say another answer before you do yours?
What would you say?
Maybe just a recently extinct animal like the dodo, just because it would be able to survive and wouldn't mess things up that massively.
Yeah, I guess. A recent animal would be a better idea, considering that it won't make as much of an impact to bring back, and at the same time, what's it called? It would kind of help the environment somewhat as well, depending on the type of creature you bring back.
Yeah.
Um,
So, still thinking about it.
yeah, I don't think I can come up with a definitive answer for this one though.
Alright. Fern, you made a question too hard. Ask us 1+1 next time. Alright. So, the next thing is, what creature do you want to go extinct?
Mosquitoes.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there.
Just mosquitoes, like.
Just burn
We
them.
are making so many. Dude, it's funny. We make so many efforts to destroy one species that we destroy all the other species around instead.
Mm-hmm.
We unintentionally kill everything. It's the mosquitoes. We're trying to kill them. We just can't.
Yeah, mosquitoes can burn in hell.
See, mosquitoes are like the most lethal creature to us humans. Like literally, they cause the most
Because
deaths.
they can't, we
Just
can't
because.
do anything about them because they're so small.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not the size. It's just the fact that they're so well developed at just drinking blood and spreading disease.
Just, they're good
Like,
at being leeches. You know what I mean?
what's funny about it is that when you kill a mosquito, you're doing like natural selection. You're killing the one that gets caught, but you're not killing the one that got away. So they're just getting
Yeah.
better and better at what they're doing. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well, that's infuriating.
Like the ones that stay on your skin too long, you catch, but the ones that get off real quick, you don't catch.
Yeah, they live on, they reproduce, and now you have more that do that same thing. So they get even more and more and more annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's more annoying.
It's also
is
they like freaking do hit and run tactics. Like they suck your blood and they fly right off before you're able to get them, and then they go back on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can't help but feel bad for some of them though, because what's it
Their
called?
only purpose is to mate. Like literally.
Kind of. What's it called? The females, they drink blood. The males, they drink nectar. The males don't do anything to people. Well, they don't care about people. The females are the ones that follow people around. It's like annoy them. It's yeah. It's just weird how nature has developed that, and yet here we are.
I remember.
All
You know
hating
what's
on them.
funny? I remember one time seeing a mosquito go up against my aunt's house, like for whatever reason, it was flying against the wall. And when I went out to my aunt's car to get something, I looked back, and it's like trying to go to me, but it's like crippled or whatever. It was like flying halfway across the lawn, and I'm like, nope, and I run back inside. Like trying
You know
to get
what's
me.
you know what's like really unfortunate though?
What?
Have you heard of a crane fly?
No.
They're giant flies that look like mosquitoes, and they're not mosquitoes. They can't even bite people, but they look exactly like mosquitoes, but bigger. So they're always killed.
Yeah, I'm gonna look this up.
They are they are literally.
It's natural
They're literally-
selection, though.
They look like mosquitoes because no one messes with mosquitoes, except us. So, yeah, all of a sudden everyone's killing crane flies. Like, these guys are just these giant skinny flies and everyone murders them. It's so like,
Because they look like mosquitoes.
they look exactly like mosquitoes, just huge. And I've seen them before. They're just really,
Oh
really
yeah,
big
I think
flies.
I might have seen one before too.
Yeah, there's just this really huge mosquito-looking flies, but they're not able to drink blood.
Yeah.
So like,
You know what's
you
extremely
just
funny though?
yeah.
One time I saw a moth in my window and I thought it was a mosquito, but it wasn't actually. It was a moth. It was like I opened up the
Unfortunate.
shades, and for a solid minute right there, it was giving me the death glare. Like it was just sitting there, like
It's like, how dare you? How dare you think I was one of those?
yeah, and then freaking just flew away when I tapped on the glass. But that's creepy as hell though. Like it was just fixated on me. You know what I mean?
I mean, the thing about insects is that most of them don't really have an eye that can like follow you. Their eyes can't see everything almost at
They
the same
just sense
time for a
stuff
lot
like
of parts
carbon
of them.
dioxide.
No, there's different ways that they like detect things. So some of them do use like different like
Maybe
what's it called, signals. Like
echolocation.
they can detect certain things in the air or whatever. They have antennas to feel around, of course.
Yeah.
All
Apparently,
different like sensory
mosquitoes
organs and
can
stuff.
detect carbon dioxide from up to 75 feet away. That's how they find their victims.
Yeah, I can believe that. I mean, have you seen their antennas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some little pests. Damn, the world we live in is cruel.
Yeah, but we survive.
Alright, so I think we're done with that topic, right?
Yeah, pretty much. We're both good at mosquitoes.
Yeah. Fire versus water.
Oh, what?
New topic, fire versus water.
Fire versus water. Our entire civilization is based around water.
Yeah,
However, we use
entire
fire to
planet!
build ourselves up.
Yeah, but our entire planet is based around water. Like, there's no
Yeah.
life without water. But with fire, you could make the argument that fire kills a lot more. Or no, it doesn't kill a lot more people, but it's a lot more destructive than water is.
It is a destructive force that we use to create advancements.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, so I guess I'll start with kind of the historic thing.
So you're kind of
When
looking at the
people
symbolism of it.
Yeah, so basically, when people first formed their societies and everything, there were several different things that were important to making a civilization, and that was water. So people would always build near water to make
Yeah,
sure
like
that
in
they had
Egypt.
yeah, like they had to build near the river, because if they built anywhere else, they would die of dehydration. You need water for everything, including like growing crops and stuff. You needed irrigation and stuff. Obviously, that
Yeah,
was
if
developed
there was
later,
no
but you
Nile,
still
there'd
needed
be
water.
no Egypt.
Yeah, pretty much. And then like what's it called? Over time, when we developed ways to move the water around, we would expand more outward because we can bring the water places, and that was a huge development. But in the case of fire, right? When we, before we discovered fire, we were just like cave people, right? Just surviving with whatever we could. But with fire, we suddenly learned how to make new things, right? Like
Hmm.
fire actually allowed us to get like warmth. Eventually, we learned how to make things with metal and so on and so forth. Like fire brings on these like like different like things. There's different technologies. Like if you think about like light is basically like I don't know. So you could probably argue against this, but light is almost like a form of like fire because you're using fire to create light. Like a light bulb, you're using like the electronic current inside to generate it generates heat, but like it also creates this like light that comes out of it. So
Hmm.
really, fire is kind of like a major thing that allowed us to move on with our technological advancements.
But without water, we
So
wouldn't exist at all.
yeah. So and really, it's more of like I don't know. They're like yeah. It's really weird
Mm. I think,
because we
personally, I'm gonna be a waterbender right there.
yeah. I guess I'm just trying to think about it. Like what's better, fire or water? Water is kind of like essential for survival, but fire is the thing that allows us to move like on. So it's really this like kind of like weird balance, I guess.
And
But if you're thinking strictly about like survival, I guess I would go with water.
Yeah. I guess that's a thing to consider. Broadly speaking, it also symbolizes something greater. Is it better to survive? Or is it
Hmm.
better, like, is it better to live long but be miserable? Or is it better to live life to the fullest and have it be short?
Yep.
I would honestly I'd probably pick the water just because it's better to keep going. Don't give up.
Hmm.
Or at least that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Sorry if we didn't answer your question that good, Fern. He's like the only person watching this, by the way. He's our biggest fan.
Hmm.
So,
All right.
you want to go on to the next one?
I don't have access to the chat, so.
Alright, next one is movies versus TV shows. Oh, wow, that's another complicated one.
Movies versus TV shows. Would you rather sit there for 3 hours just marathoning that one movie? Or would you prefer to watch episodes where you can take breaks in between?
Yeah. I feel like.
Unfortunately, the problem with both, they go hand in hand with each other because TV shows, what they do is that they make cliffhangers. Movies learned from that and made cliffhangers to make more movies.
Mm,
In the same way, like, what's it called? TV shows learn how like movies have these like different narrative elements, but they try to add that and split it up between, so it's almost like one entire continuous like show. So it's really weird. I don't know. Out of the what which I would prefer, to be honest, I'd rather prefer like a movie. To be honest, I'd rather get the whole thing done with just right there. I'd rather
mm,
not wait an entire week for the next episode.
yeah, I mean, true. It just depends on how you look at it. It depends on whether or not the movie is satisfying. Like, if it's good or not. If it's good,
Hmm.
then I'd probably prefer the movie, just because I'd be so invested in the story. But if it's really bad, then I'd prefer a TV show, because with a movie, you'd have to sit through it. So that's the way I look at it. If it's a good,
Hmm.
movie. If it's bad, TV show.
Yeah, I guess.
Because a good movie is better than a good TV show most of the time.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that for the most part.
Hmm. So, good with that one.
Hmm.
Final topic, time travel, both past and future. What do you think about it?
It's a dangerous concept. If we do eventually develop it, there's a lot of ethical and different standpoints we have to think about. Because there's a
Mm,
lot of paradoxes that come out of the idea of it. They basically create the ability to travel through time is it's a
yeah.
weird line you have to draw, like what you would do. Like, if you know the butterfly effect, a simple change, even just the smallest thing, can move on to make some bigger difference, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's like a bunch of different ways you could probably explain that, but I'm not even going to go into detail on that. But then when you think about time traveling into the past, right? You could easily change history, and that would not be a good thing most of the time. But then if you were to go like way further back in time, like the world's different, and it wouldn't really receive you that well. Like I mentioned before, like if you were to go with the age of the dinosaurs, you'd probably die from the difference in not like air.
Yeah.
Like the air quality back then is way different than it is now, so you'd probably like die from that.
Something
Humans are
else to think
very
about
specific.
is that, like, what if there was a higher power in the universe as well? If that was the case, then they'd probably not be too happy about you messing with time. They
Yep,
might decide
that
that
is
you're
another
petty
thing
enough to get rid of you.
you think about.
You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yep, that is another thing to think about. Kind of scary.
Yeah. I remember
Mm-hmm.
reading the title of a creepypasta. It was like, my dad taught me how to look at the night sky. Never told me he was looking back.
That is interesting to think about.
Yeah, and for the future,
Traveling.
I feel like time traveling to the future depends on how you
See
look
that
at it.
that that can have there's a lot of paradoxes that can come from that too, because you can go to the future and all of a sudden everyone is time traveling, right? Or you can go to the future and all of a sudden there's like time travel police and you get arrested for time traveling.
I just feel like everyone you know and love would be dead. There wouldn't be a whole lot of a point to it. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, to see what the future looks like,
Well, yeah, but
and then like, how do you know that'd be safe either way? Like, what if you went so far in the future that the human race is extinct? Then you
yeah,
go in the future, and then you already know what's going to happen, and you mess up the chain of events to make it so the future never happens.
yeah. That's kind of interesting though. Like I remember reading another creepypasta. It was basically like that concept, but you can't travel back. It was like, here's the story. In 1975, these people were cryogenically frozen, and they wake up 50 years later, but in the intervening time, mankind has ended. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, like, you have people that are waiting for the doctors to come help them, and they never do. Because they're all dead. Like, the entire world is abandoned.
Yep, it's a scary thought to think about.
Yeah.
There are several movies that explore that, like
It's a scary thing about.
The Back to the Future. There was this one that was really good. I don't remember the name of it, but it was really great movie about how the human race split into two different species in the future. That was really cool. Um, yeah,
You know, it's
there's a lot
scary
of
to
different
think
movies
about,
actually
too.
called that. But
If you were in the scenario, it would also be terrifying to think about what ended the human race. And could it
that's
still be
also kind
around?
of scary.
Yeah.
Hmm. Also, something that's really also scary to think about. See, if you can make time travel work, who's to say you can't get stuck? What
Yeah.
if you get stuck in the middle of the time travel process and now you're no longer in the past, present, or future? Like
You're
you're in
just
somewhere
stuck
in
there
between.
forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird. And then like, what if it breaks? So if you go one way and the machine breaks and now you can't go back, now you're stuck there forever.
Hmm.
Or like,
It's
what's it called?
terrifying.
It's a ton of different things that can go wrong, and like, I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah. That's
So,
definitely an
n-
interesting idea.
no matter what, every piece of technology will break on its own.
Yeah.
Like, you give it some time and it'll break eventually.
Hmm.
Like nothing works, and like even like I don't know, like a lead pencil, you use it for a certain amount of time, and one day some piece inside of it will break, and then the whole thing doesn't work anymore until you replace that piece. So like, who's to say that won't happen?
Hmm.
Or it's
Yeah.
maintenance is a thing, but things still break.
And there's a lot of things. There's a lot of scenarios that you go through. I
Hmm.
remember reading another one that was about a zombie apocalypse. And this one does something really unique from a bunch of other creepypastas. It actually like talks about the build up. It doesn't go right in. It talks about like how society's more and more losing control as time goes on, and it starts off normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's
all
kind of
these
a
weird,
dystopian future.
yeah, all these weird topics related with like time travel and the way like the future and the past are different things. Yeah, time travel is a weird topic to talk about. It is really deep.
Yeah, there's a lot of different
A
things you can
really
do.
big philosophical and ethical considerations.
Yeah, I found
Anyways,
another time travel story. It was called A Warning from 60 Years in the Future. And it
oh,
talks
that's
about.
actually really scary to think about. What if
Uh,
a future came to us and gave
mm-hmm.
us a warning? What would we even that's something scary to think about.
Yeah, I'll have to give you the
Would we
creative
heat
test
it
at
or would
some
we
point.
not?
But the basic gist about it is that everything is more or less normal until the year 2071. Then things start going wrong. Apparently, in 2017, you know the mad cow disease, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
In 2017, in this universe, a transferable version to humans was released into the meat supply. And no one knew for decades the disease lied dormant until 2071 there was a huge spike in mental illness. And okay, so just to let you know, this isn't a typical zombie apocalypse. What ended up happening is people just started going crazy. A lot of them ended up being in a vegetative state, like they just died of dehydration, and it was contagious. Or no, it wasn't contagious. I think it was hereditary. Like people pass it on to their kids and stuff. So yeah, 15% of the population had it at one point, and then it went up to 50%, and that's when everything started going downhill. Like society was collapsing, and by 80%, it was crazy. Near the end of it, things were looking like they were okay. Even though a crap ton of people died, there were still like 80 million survivors. Or not 80 million, 20 million survivors in the USA alone. So they were prepared to get out of their bunkers and shit. But what ended up happening is the disease went airborne. And the person writing the story is one of like only 20 people left that are sane on Earth. He doesn't know if the warning will be effective or if people are just destined to die in the year 2078, which is when he's writing about it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like he's trying to prevent that from happening.
Yeah. Diseases are a scary thing. What's weird about that is that is almost entirely plausible that that could be a scenario in the future. Not the time travel part, but like a disease that
Yeah.
spreads like that and mutates.
Imagine it's like COVID remaining dormant in people, and then they go crazy in 2077.
It wouldn't all activate at once though. That's the thing about it.
Yeah.
Like it would mutate into like an actual active state, and then that would have to spread and trigger all the other ones.
Yeah, that's creepy to think about though. Like your grandchildren could have inherited disease from you, and they would be around for the end of the world. Alright. So
Let's choose a
here,
different topic.
yeah. The next topic is have everyone hate you even though you did the right thing, or have everyone love you for something really bad you did. Okay,
Is this an either or question or is this a past experience question?
either or. Like, would you rather? Would you rather have everyone hate you for something good you did, or everyone love you for something bad you did?
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to choose the first choice on that.
Yeah, I would agree with you because
Because
if
the
I
thing
saw
is, like,
people loving me for me doing something extremely
the
bad,
fact about it is that is something that is actually very true. It actually happens today. Like people that do good things are celebrated, and some people that do bad. People who do good things are usually not celebrated. Some people who do like bad things are celebrated, and it's like a really weird thing.
yeah, sometimes it
I'm
happens.
not gonna mention. I'm not gonna mention anyone specific because that would tarnish people's names or whatever. But like, if you really like look at like certain individuals, you can see how like their reputation is kind of based around like what they did, but it has like a weird opposite kind of effect.
Yeah. I just feel like I would lose too much faith in humanity if someone was like cheering me on for something terrible I did. I wouldn't be able to
Hmm.
handle it.
I would completely lose all of it. Like, would you rather live with that burden for the rest of your life that like everyone loves you for something that you did that was horrible that even you couldn't like come to bear with? Like,
Hmm.
would you really want to live with that burden?
Like, imagine you murder someone who's like,
Or like,
oh
would you
yeah,
like to
good
like
job.
live?
Like
Yeah,
they're cheering you on.
that's kind of a weird. That's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I feel like it's better to be hated. You're more humbled that way, as long
Yeah,
as you're able to
because
keep your mental health
as
straight.
long as you know that you've done something to help everyone else, like even if they don't cherish you for it, like the thing is that you've made a difference that actually
Yeah,
like
you
matters in
were
that case.
you were a
You and
constructive
basically the
person.
good thing about that is that you're the person that knows about it. Like
Mm,
even if they don't celebrate you for it, you know what you did.
yeah,
And if it's actually that much of like a good thing, then like other people's opinions would not really affect you all that much.
yeah. I remember hearing a story about it, like that was around this topic from ancient Rome again, but this time it was like 400 AD or something. There was a dude named Stilicho, and he helped hold the empire together. Like he was a really great general. But the emperor saw him as a threat because he was so popular, and he was about to execute him. And the general could have survived. Like he could have used the legions that he had under his command to take over the empire for himself. In the middle of like 3 invasions and 2 civil wars, but he decided not to do it because he really valued Roman values, and he ended up being executed along with all of his followers.
Hmm.
And
There's many historical evidence that show exactly this. Like, if you want to be a religious person, you can look at like the story of like Jesus or whatever, right? Like, lots of
where
people
he was
loved him,
killed,
but at the same time, like when he was executed, there was so many people that hated him. Like,
the Romans hated him.
yeah, like if you really think about it, it's like this thing has happened so many times in history. But like
Yeah.
people that do good things
Like
are
in
just like
ancient
shunned.
Rome, they thought he was treasonous. Like they thought he was an enemy of the
Hmm.
people or something.
Yeah, it's just really really weird this thing in history, and you know like there's also like different examples of how like people who've done like horrible things were celebrated.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know what's funny about the story that I told you though is that
Mm.
Stilicho, like there was a dude who lied to the emperor saying that he was gonna team up with the king of the Goths and invade Rome for themselves. The funny thing about that is that just 2 years later, the Goths would sack Rome, and this is because like all the legions that he had under his command ended up defecting to the king of the Goths, and he got a lot more power because of it, and eventually marched on Rome.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah, there's so
even
many
though he
major
thought he
examples of both
killed,
ways.
even though the emperor thought he killed a threat to his throne, he ended up killing his protector. Yeah,
Mm.
so that guy ruled for a god awful 30 years before he died. And you want to move on?
Yeah, I guess we should like move on to a different topic. We can talk about so many different examples, but we're not really getting anywhere.
Yeah.
We've already established our point.
Do opposites attract? Um, I would say in some cases, yes.
In
But
some cases,
there's
yes, not always.
there's a caveat. I would say both ways there's a caveat. Like if someone is too opposite, they probably won't attract. But if someone is too similar, they won't attract either. You need to have a balance
Hmm.
there.
Yeah, that is completely true.
Yeah. So opposites attracting is something that happens sometimes. And it
But I think
seems
it's
like they're total opposites, but deep down they have
Mhm.
something in common.
Yeah, I'm trying to. What's it called? I had like a dilemma or something like like this weird like crisis where like, what is opposite?
It's
Because if you think about it, when you think of the opposite, like let's say the opposite of colors, like that was like orange or something like that, right?
it's two things that are as different as they could be from each other.
Yes. However, they're both similar. They're related in some way. They're both colors,
Like stop
so
and
they're
go.
similar in that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're
They're
both
both
like telling you
directions.
like
Yeah.
yeah, they have some relationships. I had a dilemma where I was like, I had a weird dilemma where I was thinking like, if opposites are
It's
supposed
like,
to be as
what's
different
the
as
opposite of
possible, then
apple
why are they
pie?
related?
Yeah, it's crazy. It
So
just seems like
that's
true
like,
opposites don't exist.
yeah, so that's kind of like a weird thing. Like, there's no such thing as a complete opposite.
Hmm. Yeah.
And even then, if you do say something that's completely unrelated, like, it makes no sense at all.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like,
it's kind of
you
interesting
can't
to
you
think of.
can't just say like purple and pumpkin, like that makes no sense at all.
Hmm. Yeah,
So yeah,
you think we're good on that one? There's another interesting question. You want to like end this topic here, or are you?
we have about 10 minutes. We can go over this last topic, I guess.
All right. Could you survive in a zombie apocalypse? Is the question.
Depends on how the zombie apocalypse works.
Mhm. It depends.
It really depends.
I think that yeah, it would depend on if it's like World War Z zombies, Left 4 Dead zombies, but for like common practice sake, or at least what people expect, I would say that for this question, I would go with the Walking Dead zombies because they're the most widely accepted. You know what I mean?
So basically, you're saying the really slow moving not even walking, like kind of like slumbering around zombies that like if you get
Yeah,
bitten, then game over.
yeah, that kind of zombie. That's probably the most realistic
I would
zombie.
have a 45% chance of surviving.
Mhm. It's not percent
Let's
chance.
see.
It's like how long would you survive? Because there's
Again,
no
that
such
depends on a lot
thing.
of factors, but
There's no such thing as surviving a zombie apocalypse. It just depends when you die, because you would still live out the rest of your natural life.
mhm.
You
I
know what
mean,
I
really
mean?
thinking about it, if it's like a really basic one, like that, where the zombies just like walk around and stuff like that, like it could probably be fine, just like wandering around using basic weapons and stuff. But I can't really run much, so if
Yeah.
I end up being like chased for whatever reason, I'm gone. But if I
Hmm.
just use my head and stay around and you have some like basic like routine where I like gather food or whatever, I might be able to do things.
Yeah. Just, I think also having a group, even though you could possibly be betrayed, I'm not negating that threat. You do have a much larger chance of survival because you
Hmm.
all together have like more intelligence, kind of like a hive mind.
Yep. If you take the case of like, I don't know, if you take a case of like zombies where they're all like they sprint, they have a hive mind conscience, or like if you take it
Then
like
it's
the flood, or
impossible unless you're like the military.
if you make it like the flood and Halo where they're smart too, and they know how they retain the memories of their previous hosts, like then you're basically screwed.
Yeah, because that's overpowered. All right. So you good on that one?
Yep.
Or
Still
how
have
long do
time, I
you
guess,
think you
but
would survive? Like what time do you give
how
yourself?
long?
Yeah.
Depends on the circumstances.
I think for me, it depends on whether or not I could find a group. If I don't find a group, probably live for a couple of weeks. Not dying from the zombies or anything, most likely. I'd probably just die because of my own insanity. Like if I was gone from people for too long.
Mm.
You know what I mean? But if I'm in a group,
Yeah.
I'd give myself at least a couple of years. Could definitely, like, but I could toughen up fast enough.
It really depends on me for because if I end up being solo, I might do good for a while. But if I end up being in like a group, like I could do better, but at the same time, like I'll be the first person to be betrayed because
You're trusting?
like I'm just here. Like people would trust me, but I'm like way too easy to trust. Like I would fall
Mm,
for anything.
yeah. It's like, oh yeah, could you go in the storage shed? Locks him up. Steals
Yep,
all the supplies.
basically.
Yeah. and then burns down the shed. Alright. So, we got another topic. Should we keep going for, like, this final topic? We got 5 minutes left.
Yeah, I guess we can go for one more then.
Alright. How far do you think VR will progress?
As far as our human senses can take us.
Yeah, I feel like for VR, it would probably get really realistic. Like, almost to the point of real life. I feel like at that point there would probably be regulations on it, though. Because at that point you could actually cause people trauma. Like, they'd be traumatized by stuff that happens. So you can't, like, there would be a limit to it, I believe.
Yeah. There will be a limit for sure. I mean, what's it called? It
I feel like this kind of
depends on
ties
like
in.
what senses you want to stimulate.
You're lagging, you're lagging, you're lagging, you're lagging.
And
I should leave and
there
rejoin.
will be a
Leave and
certain
rejoin.
point where another
Hello.
another completely different life in VR, but like it only goes that far. It can't go beyond.
Drago, you're lagging real bad.
I just did that.
Alright. Should probably restart your computer. Alright. Are you gonna be right back? Oh yeah, he'll be back. Sure of it. So hold tight, everyone. We'll discuss the topic. I'm just gonna wait for him to come back.
Well, you gotta love the internet doing that.
Yeah, hello.
All right. Well, anyways.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's what I would think about VR. I think that, like I said, with in the future scenario, the future would probably be a lot more straightforward than we would assume. Like back in the 1960s, they would assume that like we have flying cars today, but in reality we don't. It's just stuff would only change because of circumstances, not just fantastical reality ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah. As I was going to mention, the VR can only go as far as our human senses allow. We can't give ourselves like extra colors we can see, like a shrimp. Like shrimp can see more colors than we can. Like we can't give ourselves extra senses apart from the senses we already have. Like sure, we can make a better experience, but it would only have that limit of what we can physically experience.
What really scares me about VR is that if it gets a real accurate, like if it gets better than humanity, we would probably just download ourselves and do a simulation. You know what I mean? Like that might happen.
At some point, maybe, but there's so many different things about that that's actually
But
really
in
scary.
that case, that's it puts us vulnerable.
Have you ever heard of a Have you ever heard of a game called Soma?
No.
It's an amazing game, and it's actually like it's a really important game because it really discusses the idea of like human consciousness. It's the ability to download minds and stuff, and it's so
You know what'd be
horrible to think
scary about that? Is
No,
just
here's the thing about it, okay?
yeah.
When you have your conscious, right, and you want to move it to another thing, you're not moving it, you're copying it. You create a duplicate of your conscious. Your physical consciousness will stay stuck to your body,
Yeah.
but a duplicate of it will live on, and it'll basically able to think just lives through your consciousness.
hmm
That's the thing that's scary about it.
What I think is scary as well is that if we all downloaded ourselves into a simulation, what's to stop some alien life form to get advanced enough to find us and think, these machines would be really useful to power our engine, and we wouldn't be able to stop them. Like, they could just pull the plug on us.
It literally just takes like one person to sabotage it and literally murder a lot of people. Like, yeah.
And also, I don't think that's necessarily the case of it copying your consciousness, if that makes sense. I think it would be more so like your current consciousness is emerged into it, like your brain.
To physically transfer it, you'd have to move your actual brain, your organic brain,
Yeah,
because
I
your
feel like
consciousness is not.
it would
Your
probably be a
consciousness
brain
is not an
storage.
electrical signal.
Yeah,
Yeah, your consciousness is not like an electrical signal. You can't just like move it like that. That's why I
I feel
mentioned like
like
it's a
if we
weird
ever
thing.
got to that point, it wouldn't be you anymore. It would be something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really weird thing, especially because like we don't fully understand how our consciousness works.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Why is there so much static?
I don't
So.
know. Anyways, I guess our time is up for now. Would you like to do your outro?
Yeah. Hey everybody, thank you for listening in. You enjoyed Donate Us credits in Caveton or Exrovia. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this. Yada yada yada, y'all know the deal. Um, Goodbye.
Alright. I'm gonna go and host my maps now.
Alright, I'm gonna wait for the stream to catch up to that before I end it.
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and leave and use a mic to host my maps.